AA Best Bail Bonds Big Game coverage live from Miami.
It is the Blitz here on 1250 ESPN San Antonio, 94.5 FM. ESPN SA, we get to host one of the best things, our AA Best Bail Bonds Radio Row coverage. And one of our highlights of our week, every year, is to speak with Leigh Steinberg. You have, you're living a great life, and your story is impeccable and wonderful to tell, and it's always a pleasure to catch up with you every year at the biggest spectacle, and you're always involved with it. It's a pleasure to have you aboard.
Thanks so much. It is exciting if you represent athletes to have the quarterback in the Super Bowl.
Yes, I can't even imagine.
I mean, and I think about, all the years, as long as I've known you, Leigh, when you were out of the game, trying to get back in the game. And then, I remember we were down in Houston, and he's like, we're going to get Patrick Mahomes, and I'm going to make him a first-round pick. And, people weren't thinking him as a first-round guy until you started the campaign for him. And he wins MVP. Now he's going to go win a Super Bowl and sign how big of a contract?
We're not talking about that.
I'll tell you, Leigh, when we talk about the contracts and all of that, and certainly as Dallas Cowboys-centric where we are, looking at the Dak Prescott potential for the contracts, and you with Mahomes and others over the years, the many, we can't even name all of them, when do you start talking with your clients about the next, as they move through their career from first contract to second and that kind of stuff? Because obviously you bring them on, and they bring you on, and you create a game plan. I mean, this is what our plan is for this and that. And Mahomes certainly skyrocketed, but I don't think anybody was surprised by that. But so obviously, even at the draft, when he was first drafted, you could tell that there was something coming. And then we were actually interviewing Patrick in Minnesota on the day of the Alex Smith trade. So we saw the progression from young rookie coming out of Lubbock to the heir apparent, and now 2 years later, he is at the level that I think no one expected him to be at this soon, but he's there.
So right now, you focus on this game because he's already got a contract and it'll take care of itself. But to win this game transcends the narrow genre of hardcore football fans.
Right.
It reaches out to 130 million people watching it. The food section, the entertainment section, the business section. If a player performs dramatically and interviews well, then they go into what we call the celebrity making machine. Mm-hmm. And that's early morning talk shows and late morning talk shows and magazine covers, and it takes them from just being a football player. So when I had Troy Aikman, he entered the field in 1993, and he was Troy Aikman, good quarterback. And he left, he was Troy Aikman,
right,
name up in lights. So that all happened, but the players need to be very focused this week that there's actually a football game.
And obviously, your advice to Patrick when you talk to him throughout the week is focus on the game. But you and your team have done such a good job with the marketing aspect, the endorsements that he has, the number of commercials, and I would imagine stuff's in the works for post-Super Bowl. And, the contract that he's going to sign, which right now looks like could be the richest in NFL history, and the timing of that happening. But is the focus on the endorsement part now? Because the NFL contract, like you said, will kind of take care of itself.
And so will the endorsements. Chris Cabot, who works with me, my younger partner, has done a really sensational job.
Does that guy ever sleep, by the way?
No.
I mean, Chris Cabot, by the way, because I follow each other on social media, is everywhere.
Yes. He's the Energizer Bunny on steroids. But he's done a really nice job combining things, not overexposing Patrick, and they're real close.
Leigh Steinberg joining us here on ESPN San Antonio. Leigh, when you wake up in the morning, what gets you going? What do you wake up to do?
Well, the focus of our practice is role modeling, so it's all about athletes retracing their roots to the high school, collegiate, and professional community, trying to make a difference. So it's the holistic way that you help an athlete develop. It's preparing them for second career. It's making sure that they've got a charitable foundation. Anybody could have negotiated the dollars, but it's helping an athlete stay grounded, rooted, and then making a difference in the world, because we can target anything from bullying to domestic violence by having athletes be role models.
And when you think about everything that you do and what you look for in guys, this year, and you've added to your roster every year, but you're getting a couple of really pretty good studs out of Alabama that and again, grounded in the family and the foundation is important to them.
Well, you'll meet Tua later this week, and he is wonderful as a person, comes out of a great family, is faith-based, really rooted, and we also signed Jerry Jeudy from there. But I think Tua will take his place as another franchise quarterback picked towards the top of the draft. And he's recovering very nicely. He's not walking on crutches anymore.
That was going to be the next question. How is the progression moving? And as you get closer and closer to the draft, how are you going to handle his prep for the draft? What is there a game plan for that? What do you do on getting the guys ready for all that's about to head their way?
So the first key is him healing. And then when he's ready, whenever that is, he'll be able to showcase his skills for teams. So with a franchise quarterback, which team will fall in love with him? And so you got to have a marriage there where they can specifically visualize not a generic quarterback, but this person as their pick. And then you start to get trading that happens in the first round. You start to get people moving around. So in the same way that we discussed that Patrick would be a top pick at a time that seemed unlikely, Tua will also get past the injury and do a great job.
Leigh Steinberg, super agent, with us here on ESPN San Antonio's Radio Row coverage here in Miami. You think about all the players you have, and we can talk about Mahomes. You can talk about, Tua and some of the others that are going to be high draft picks. But I see, on socials, you guys are everywhere, regardless of the star power. Heck, I was seeing Cabot at Alliance football games because you guys represented Logan Woodside, and he was going to those games. It's amazing that you're able to take all your athletes and kind of treat them the same.
So it's like being a parent, right?
Uh-huh.
You have these children. Not that my athletes are children, but the analogy is that.
Right.
Yeah.
And one of them may be successful conventionally in life, and the other one may have problems and everything, but you love them equally. So the commitment is to go with a player, be part of his career through thick and thin. Sometimes it's more important that you're with a player in the worst times. And so friendship or even agenting is what do you do when it costs you something to be someone's friend? What do you do when it costs something to be someone's agent? What do you do when they're non-productive? So they need to know you're behind them in the best or in the worst.
I think about when Jerry Maguire came out, a movie based on you. How different is being an agent in 2020 compared to when that movie came out, and when are we going to see the second version? Because I think you've made sequel worthy moves over the last.
The Sunny Side of the Street version.
Yes, exactly. We're actually talking to different people. Our VP of Media, Julia Farron, has talked to some people about doing projects like that, and but how different it is. Well, my very first client, Steve Bartkowski, we made headlines across the country because his contract was, wait for it, $600,000 for 4 years. And his bonus was $250,000. Could you believe that? And his first year salary, this is the first pick in the draft, was $40,000. So economically, the explosion of TV contracts, the jumbo new stadia, the fantasy football following, the gamblers, the multiple ways you can enjoy it. This country's become obsessed with pro football.
Yesterday, Lee, we saw a statement from the NFLPA regarding the future of the agreement that's coming and the preparation for that. As an agent, when you're speaking with your clients, how do you prepare for what could be a lockout or a potential work stoppage?
You prepare for the worst, but look, part of the reason that pro football is so successful is the fact that since 1987, the games have been played. So, who wants to be the person who kills the golden goose,
Yeah.
right? Who wants to interfere with that? So, while the players are saving money and all the rest of it, hopefully it's a smooth behind-the-scenes process, because not a lot of fans are going to feel empathy for billionaires negotiating with millionaires, right? So we're best off keeping all of that away from the public, do it smoothly behind the scenes.
And with the draft coming up in Vegas this year, and boy, that's going to be a spectacle. Our San Antonio Mayor, Ron Nirenberg, on our show Friday, talked about how he is trying to angle to get the NFL draft in San Antonio, which would be a great place for it if the NFL would go to a non-NFL city. Do you ever see something like that happening?
Not really, because the competition to have the draft is so intense. It's like the competition to host the Super Bowl. And you've got 32 cities, and they're always fighting for that.
Well, that's unfortunate. We're going to continue to fight for it, because if we can't get a team...
I would love it. I'd go Riverside, I always had fun there. The Houston trained there for...
Oh, yeah,
for
we're at Trinity.
While.
Yeah.
And we had a great time. I was hoping the players didn't sign real fast so we could spend more time in San Antonio.
Well, and I tell you what, if you get one of those hotels on the Riverwalk, that view is just like the one you have out of your office there in Newport.
Almost.
It's just the same
except the
thing.
ocean,
Right.
it's cactus.
Yeah.
But it's a lovely view.
Cool.
Awesome, Lee.
Leigh Steinberg, it is always a pleasure to catch up. I know you've got a busy week in front of you as your stable of clients and Patrick Mahomes this week. And best of luck to you and all that you do. I think it's great for people to hear you speak, because the connotation of what an agent is and what an agent really is are so diametrically opposed. And the way you speak of family and all of that, I think it's every player you have that signed with you is very lucky to have a man that takes care of them and looks forward well beyond just playing in between the lines.
Thank you very much.
Leigh Steinberg right here on ESPN San Antonio.